Billy Batson is a 14-year-old foster kid played by Tache Angel, who's run away from several foster homes in the past. When he encounters a magical wizard, he gains the ability to transform himself into an adult dude, played by Zachary Levi, who also happens to be a superhero every time he says the word Shazam. And that's literally all you need to know. So the DCEU, or Worlds of DC, or whatever it's called, has actually had a pretty decent track record lately. Well, minus Justice League. Anyway, I loved Wonder Woman and Aquaman, so I was interested to see if they could get 3 good movies in a row with Shazam, because the trailers, while not great, did interest me. I wasn't expecting anything great, just something fun and harmless, you know? That being said, I freaking love this movie. Shazam is definitely the biggest surprise I've seen this year so far, mainly because of how much fun I had watching it with my friend, and also because of how invested I was in the overall story. To start with, I'm gonna talk about the best part of this movie. Zachary Levi. This guy kills it as adult Billy, aka Shazam. Even though the 2 versions of Billy are 2 completely different people in real life, Zachary Levi just embodies the spirit of a child despite the age gap. He's essentially a kid who's had nothing good happen to him at all in his life, and to see him finally get an opportunity where he can accomplish things he never thought he could is in a lot of ways very uplifting and as funny as watching a predator teaming up with a human to kill xenomorphs. Only difference being, it's not unintentionally hilarious. One of my favourite parts of this movie is Billy trying to figure out how to be a superhero and what the right way to go about it is. Sometimes it can be really entertaining and funny, and other times it's used to reflect who he is as a person and how that can impact other people in his life, which is honestly an aspect I was not expecting to be explored in this movie. While the main character is going through 2 character arcs at the same time essentially, there is a point in the movie where the 2 character arcs come together into one arc, and it's done in a really satisfying way that doesn't feel forced or rushed. Yeah, it's a fast-paced movie, but it takes its time developing its main character, which I think is a huge benefit for this movie. Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays Freddie Freeman, Billy's roommate in the foster home, is brilliant. I love this guy in It, and I love him even more in this movie. He does provide a lot of the comedy in the movie, and while that was a risk, it was a risk worth taking, because this kid absolutely killed me in some scenes. Freddy has more of a knowledge of superheroes than Billy does, so as a result you get one of the most unlikely master-student relationships you will ever get in any movie, purely because the master is the kid rather than the adult this time. The dynamic between Shazam and Freddy is amazing as Grazer bounces off Levi and Angel phenomenally, because he has great chemistry with both of them. Asher Angel was great as younger Billy. His performance wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, although at first I did struggle to see how young Billy and older Billy were the same person, mainly because at first they just seemed so different from each other from a personality standpoint. But as the movie progressed and the character was given more development, they pretty much blended together perfectly by the end. The foster home was another thing I really liked about this movie. The foster home feels like the heart and soul of this movie, and the parents played by Cooper Andrews and Marta Millens were excellent. They were basically the warmest and most energetic people on the planet in this movie, which made them basically impossible to hate. As you know from the trailers, Billy hasn't had an easy time in life because he was separated from his mom at a young age and never found her again, and he's still looking for her all these years later. He's gone from foster home to foster home until eventually he ends up with a bunch of other kids in this specific foster home, which acts as the emotional weight of this movie, and the foster home sequences were handled extremely well. Shazam is without a doubt the most self-aware of the DCEU movies. I guess a way of describing this movie is by calling it Deadpool for kids. Done right. AKA, not this. That's not me saying it's a direct rip-off of Deadpool. It ain't. What I'm trying to say here is that it pokes fun at superhero movies in a similar way to Deadpool, and it does it a lot. And for me personally, that as well as Billy being completely gobsmacked that he can basically transform himself into a superhero was where the comedy was at its best. Overall, Shazam is freaking hilarious. It is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a good while. While Shazam does make fun of superhero movies in general, it's also a very old-school superhero movie. The movie definitely has a late 70s or early 80s vibe running through it, very similar to Christopher Reeve's Superman in that respect, both tonally and visually. I mean, just look at his suit! It genuinely looks like a superhero suit from that era. Not that that's a bad thing, because to me in itself, that's a nod to those old-school superhero movies, especially seeing as how the cape is actually real this time and, you know, not CGI. The movie doesn't have a huge emphasis on action. In fact, looking back, there really isn't that many action sequences, but that's not a bad thing. The movie is much more of a story-centric comedy, and the story is very lighthearted as a result, and while there are definitely people who won't like that, For others, it's a breath of fresh air, considering we're getting Avengers Endgame this month, which is more than likely going to be a really serious and somber movie, and Joker in October, which looks gloriously dark. I don't have a problem with superhero movies going dark. In some cases, I even think it's necessary to do the story and the characters justice, like The Dark Knight or Watchmen. But Shazam is a movie that perfectly fits in with that light-hearted and fluffy tone. I do have issues with this movie, and most of those are largely to do with the villain played by Mark Strong. To put it short, he's fine. Not good, not bad, just fine. Mark Strong plays him really well, and I'll admit he does have a really intriguing backstory, it's just, generally, he's not that interesting. Sure, he's kind of intimidating, but other than that, he's basically just a dude who shoots lightning out of his fingers. Yeah, I know this movie is largely about Shazam himself, but still, a little more work on the villain wouldn't have hurt this movie. While I do very much enjoy this movie's lighthearted approach to tone, it can be a detriment in some of the scenes that are supposed to be emotional. Thor Ragnarok had a similar problem where the scene was set up as a really emotional scene, but then all of a sudden a character just cracks a joke or something funny happens and just kind of kills it. Most of the movie's effects are pretty good, they're nothing particularly groundbreaking, but they were convincing enough, although there were one or two shots that didn't look too convincing, and the music, save for the pretty awesome song choices, is basically every superhero movie score ever. Seriously, there was a moment where the music started playing, and for a split second I thought I was watching Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm not even joking. On the whole, I had a great time with this movie. I think it might even be my favorite movie in the DCEU, or Worlds of DC, or... Can somebody please tell me what the heck this universe is even called? Shazam is a super fun time and honestly one of the year's biggest surprises so far. Seriously, the director of this movie directed Annabelle Creation. Think about that for a second. Anyway, Shazam gets a 9.1 out of 10. So those were my thoughts on Shazam. I do hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter if you want to, not forcing you. Anyway, before I go, I would just like to ask you guys, what did you think of Shazam? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was somewhere in the middle? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will indeed see you guys in the next one.